The long drive home. It was a dark and stormy night. The kind of night that made you want to stay indoors and never leave the safety of your home. But Henry had no choice. He had to drive home from work, and he was already late. The rain pounded against the windshield of his car, making it difficult to see the road ahead. He turned on the radio, hoping to find some distraction, but all he could hear was static. He reached out to change the station when he felt a jolt, as if his car had hit something. He slammed on the brakes and got out of the car to inspect the damage. As he walked around the front of the car, he saw a figure lying in the road. It was a woman, her clothes torn and her body battered. Henry approached her cautiously, unsure of what to do. As he got closer, he realized that the woman was still alive. He tried to help her up, but she was too weak to stand. "Please help me," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the sound of the rain. "Come on," Henry said, gently lifting her into his arms. "Let's get you to the hospital." As he carried her to the car, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. He felt a chill run down his spine, and he turned around to look behind him. But there was nothing there, just the empty road stretching out into the darkness. He drove to the hospital as fast as he could, the woman moaning in pain in the passenger seat. The rain continued to pour down on them, the sound of it drowning out all other noise. As they approached the hospital, Henry felt a sense of relief wash over him. He pulled up to the entrance, and a team of doctors and nurses rushed out to meet them. But as they took the woman inside, Henry felt a sharp pain in his back. He turned around to see a man standing behind him holding a knife. The man's face was covered in shadows, but Henry could see the glint of a wicked smile. "Give me your wallet," the man hissed, the knife pressed against Henry's throat. Henry fumbled for his wallet, trying to get it out of his pocket. But the man was getting impatient, and he pushed the knife harder into Henry's skin. Come on," Henry muttered, his hands shaking. Finally, he managed to get the wallet out and hand it over to the man. The man snatched it from his grasp and disappeared into the night. Henry stood there, his heart racing, trying to catch his breath. He knew that he had just narrowly escaped death, and that he was lucky to be alive. But as he walked back to his car, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. He looked around, but there was no one there, just the rain and the darkness. He got back into his car and drove off, his mind racing. Who was that man? And why did he attack me? And what was the deal with that woman in the road? Had she been part of the trap, or had she been a victim too? The rain continued to fall, pounding against the windshield of his car. Henry drove for what seemed like hours, his thoughts spiraling out of control. Finally, he reached his house. He pulled into the driveway and got out of the car, his heart still racing. As he walked up to the front door, he saw a figure standing on his porch. It was the man from the road, his face still hidden in shadows. He held up the wallet that Henry had given him and tossed it at his feet. "Take it back," the man said. "I don't need it." Henry looked down at the wallet, confused. "What do you want from me?" he asked. The man stepped forward, and Henry could finally see his face. It was twisted with rage and pain, his eyes burning with a fierce intensity. "You took everything from me," the man said. "Everything that I had." "I don't understand," Henry said, taking a step back. The man lunged at him, and Henry stumbled backwards, tripping on the steps of his porch. The man grabbed him by the collar, pulling him close. "You killed my wife," the man hissed. "You hit her with your car, and I saw you take her from me." Henry felt a chill run down his spine. He remembered the woman on the road, how she had been battered and broken. He had assumed that she had been attacked by someone else, but now he realized the truth. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice barely audible. The man shook him, his grip tight on Henry's collar. "Sorry isn't good enough," he said. He pushed Henry back, and Henry stumbled backwards, falling to the ground. The man loomed over him, his knife glinting in the light of the porch. Henry scrambled to his feet, trying to back away, but the man was too fast. He lunged at Henry, the knife plunging into his chest. Henry gasped, his vision blurring. He felt the blood pouring out of his body, soaking through his clothes. He fell to the ground, his limbs growing numb. The man stood over him, watching him die. "This is justice," he said. "This is what you deserve." Henry gasped for breath, trying to speak, but his words were lost in a gurgle of blood. He looked up at the man, his eyes pleading for mercy, but the man showed no mercy. He raised the knife high, ready to strike again, and then, just as he was about to deliver the killing blow, he stopped. He looked down at Henry, his face contorted with rage. "You don't deserve a quick death," he said. "You deserve to suffer." He turned and walked away, leaving Henry to die on his porch. The rain continued to fall, washing away the blood from the scene. The sound of rain was interrupted by footsteps approaching. He thought it was the man returning to finish him off, but when he looked up, he saw a figure standing over him that he didn't recognize. It was a woman, dressed in a long, flowing dress, her face obscured by a hood. "Who are you?" Henry managed to whisper. The woman didn't answer. Instead, she reached down and touched his forehead with her fingers. Henry felt a chill run down his spine as he realized that her fingers were ice cold. And then, as he watched in horror, the woman began to transform. Her skin turned black, and her eyes glowed with an otherworldly light. She opened her mouth wide, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth. Henry tried to scream, but he couldn't make a sound. He could only watch as the creature leaned down and sank its teeth into his neck. He felt a searing pain as it began to drain the life from his body. His vision began to fade, and he knew that he was dying. And then, just before he lost consciousness, he heard a voice whisper in his ear, "Your soul is mine." The creature stood up, its eyes fixed on the horizon. It knew that it had claimed another victim, but it also knew that there would be more to come. For it was a creature of darkness, a harbinger of death and despair. And as long as there were humans on this earth, it would always have plenty of souls to claim.